Paris, 1794. A woman sits in a prison cell waiting for the guillotine. Thérésia Cabarrus has less than 24 hours left to live. Inside the most feared revolution in Europe, she does something unthinkable. She sends a message to the man who decides who lives and who dies. London, 1542. Jane Boleyn stands inside a court where a single accusation is enough to destroy a family. One wrong word could send her to the scaffold. One right move might save her life. So she makes a choice that will define her forever. Two women, two courts built on fear, and two decisions that changed everything.
In the summer of 1794, one question haunted France. What kind of government becomes so terrified of a woman's words that it sends her to the guillotine? Paris smelled of sweat, mud, gunpowder, and blood. Each morning, carts rattled toward the Place de la Révolution. Each evening, new names appeared on prison execution lists. Under Maximilien Robespierre, revolutionary France had become a machine that devoured its own citizens. And inside a cell on Rue de Vaugirard, one woman was waiting to die. On July 26, 1794, 21-year-old Thérésia Cabarrus sat in the Carmes prison in Paris. She had spent 5 months behind bars. The next morning, she was scheduled for execution. Not because she had committed murder, not because she had betrayed France, but because she had shown mercy during the bloodiest phase of the Revolutionary War. Who frightened Robespierre more? Royalists? Foreign armies? Assassins? No. A woman who could make revolutionaries remember they were human. A woman who convinced soldiers not to kill. Thérésia Cabarrus was born in Madrid on July 31, 1773, daughter of the wealthy banker François Cabarrus, later finance minister to King Joseph Bonaparte of Spain. At 14, she was married to the Marquis de Fontenay, a French aristocrat nearly twice her age. By 20, she had divorced him, scandalous in 18th century Europe, and fled to Bordeaux. France was collapsing into paranoia. The monarchy was dead. King Louis XVI had been executed. The guillotine never rested. In Bordeaux, Thérésia met Jean-Lambert Tallien, the revolutionary commissioner sent to purge enemies of the Republic. Instead, she changed him. Together, they quietly saved prisoners marked for death, nobles, priests, political moderates. Soon, Bordeaux called her its guardian angel. In Paris, Robespierre noticed, and he did not forgive weakness. On February 7, 1794, Robespierre publicly denounced Tallien before the National Convention, accusing him of corruption, softness, and of being controlled by an aristocratic woman. Mercy had become a crime against the Republic. Tallien was ordered back to Paris, and Thérésia followed. The moment they arrived, she was arrested. First La Force, then the Carmes. There she met another woman awaiting execution, the widowed aristocrat Josephine de Beauharnais. Together, they listened as carts rolled past carrying prisoners toward the guillotine, while new names echoed through the halls.
With every passing day, the guillotine worked longer into the night. By July 1794, hysteria had gripped Paris. Sometimes more than 50 people were guillotined in a single day. And then Thérésia's name appeared on the execution list. She had less than 24 hours left. On the night of July 26, 1794, Thérésia wrote a letter to Tallien. She did not beg for mercy. She wrote that she could not understand how a man could call it love while still watching innocent people and his beloved be executed. There was a line in that letter that may have changed French history. I die tomorrow because I belong to a coward. She folded the letter, passed it through the guards. She did not know it, but in Paris, she was not alone. The bloodshed of the revolution had already exhausted many men. That night, panic spread through the National Convention. Deputies whispered that Robespierre was preparing another purge. Many believed their names would soon appear on execution lists. Tallien was already part of the growing conspiracy against him, but Thérésia's letter may have been the final spark. On the morning of July 27, 1794, 9 Thermidor, year 2 of the French Republic, Tallien rose to speak before the convention. Some witnesses claimed he carried a dagger beneath his coat because he did not expect to leave alive. In his speech, he attacked Robespierre publicly. The chamber exploded into chaos, shouting, accusations, panic. By evening, Maximilien Robespierre was arrested, and the next day, on July 28, 1794, he was guillotined at the Place de la Révolution. The man who had sent well over 16,000 people to their deaths died beneath the same blade, surrounded by a chanting crowd. Within hours, Thérésia Cabarrus walked free from jail. The reign of terror was over. Paris transformed her into a legend. People called her Notre Dame de Thermidor, Our Lady of Thermidor. Crowds gathered outside her residence on Rue de Clichy. Former prisoners came to thank her for saving their lives. After her release, Thérésia married Tallien. She was incredibly popular in Parisian high society and set fashion trends throughout post-revolutionary France. However, she couldn't live with the man she had once shamed for his lack of courage. They divorced 3 years later.
In the court of Henry VIII, survival often depended on betraying someone else, and no one understood that better than Jane Boleyn, wife of George Boleyn, the brother of Queen Anne Boleyn. She helped destroy her family, and for a time, it saved her life. In April 1536, the king's chief minister, Thomas Cromwell, began building a case against Queen Anne. The real reason was simple. Anne had failed to give Henry a male heir. The accusations were explosive: adultery, treason, even incest with her own brother, George. Real evidence was almost non-existent. But in the Tudor Court, suspicion could be deadlier than proof. Jane Boleyn, George's own wife, became one of the key witnesses against him. What exactly she said has never been fully confirmed. Historians still debate whether she acted from fear, ambition, resentment, or sheer survival instinct. But her testimony was enough. On May 17, 1536, George Boleyn was executed. 2 days later, Anne Boleyn, Queen of England, was beheaded inside the Tower of London. Jane survived. She was rewarded with money from the crown and allowed to remain at court. Years passed. Jane served one queen after another, Jane Seymour, then Anne of Cleves, until she entered the household of Henry's young new wife, Catherine Howard. By 1541, Catherine had secretly fallen in love with the handsome courtier Thomas Culpeper. Their meetings had to stay hidden. And once again, Jane Boleyn became the woman behind the doors. She carried messages through dark palace corridors, unlocked private chambers, and arranged secret meetings between the queen and her lover. Perhaps Jane believed she understood the rules of the Tudor Court. Watch your back, trust no one, say nothing, and protect yourself first. She was mistaken. In November 1541, Henry VIII discovered the affair. Catherine Howard and Thomas Culpeper were arrested. Jane Boleyn, the woman who had once survived by helping destroy others, was arrested the very next day. Inside the Tower of London, she collapsed mentally. Contemporary accounts describe her rambling incoherently and struggling to answer simple questions. Henry responded with terrifying efficiency. He pushed through a new law allowing the execution of prisoners declared insane. Even madness would not save Jane. On February 13, 1542, She walked to the scaffold inside the tower, moments after Catherine Howard had died there too. The same tower, the same block. Jane gave a brief final speech, confessed her sins, said she had offended the king dangerously, and accepted her punishment. In 1536, Jane Boleyn survived by helping destroy a queen. In 1542, the Tudor Court destroyed her.